So it's about 20 to 5 in the morning, and I'm leaving from Bagan, taking or from Nyang U actually, near Bagan, and taking a taxi down to the Jetty, where I'm catching a boat to Mandalay. Should be about a 10 or 11 hour trip, I think. And yeah, I think we're covering about 200 kilometers to get to Mandalay, maybe a little bit less than that. So, start of another day. So, we arrived at the river, the jetty for the boat. Probably can't see me at all because it's so dark.
Next to me, you are lucky.
Oh, it's okay. Nope.
It's okay.
It's very heavy. So here is my boat in the dark. Ah, so that's what the name of the company is, MGRG. There you go. Gotta watch your step. And I wondered what that stood for. And you can see here it says Myanmar Golden River Group, so MGRG. Hello.
May I see you are taking
Of course. This woman met me at the taxi van that dropped me off, and I had no idea that she was working for this company. I just thought she was someone down at the docks, but she checked my ticket and told me that it's free seating anywhere on the boat, wherever there's a room to sit. And there should be lots of room today because I don't think many people are going. We'll find out. This is the seating on the upper deck. Can't really see very much now because it's so dark. A lot of chairs up here, but most of them aren't set out yet. Whoa! I've probably said it a few times already, and you can't see it at all, but I'm looking out at the river and the current is going by so fast. So we need a pretty strong engine to fight against this current to get us to Mandalay. It's so funny being here in the dark. They have these. This for the captain. I really should have my other camera out because it can actually take video in darker conditions. My GoPro, I think all we're seeing here is almost blackness everywhere. Oh, looks like they serve coffee here, and then they have beer and Coke, cold drinks over there. Are they cold? It doesn't feel that cold. I think most of the reviews that I read online about this boat were about the trip from Mandalay to Bagan, and people were complaining that it was too expensive for what they got and that it was really crowded. So all these seats up on the upper open deck were already filled up with people, and they were forced to sit downstairs, and it wasn't as nice down there. So they feel like it wasn't a good value. But I think it will be good value for me today because I don't think very many people will be on this boat. I certainly don't feel the need to go claim a seat or anything like that. So this behind me is the upper deck. I'm going to go downstairs and take a look at the lower deck. Here's the lower deck. Wow, the seats, they look like from a racing car or something like that. These are like form-fitting. Wonder what they feel like. Let's see. Yeah, they really wrap around your whole body here. Feels like you're in here like in a fighter jet or something. You need seats like these for the G-forces. But yeah, I can imagine if the whole boat was full and you were down here the whole time for 10 hours, you might not enjoy this trip very much. Man, those are some bright lights, these fluorescent lights. And for me, very low ceiling. Oh, that's nice to see. They actually have electrical outlets here and there. There's one there, and one over there, and then I see one or two up there. There isn't like one for every seat, but there are electrical outlets. Yeah, I have to watch my head. They put a little bit of a cushion on this one to protect your head, but pretty thin. And there's an air conditioner here at the front, but I don't know whether it is operational or has any effect. So here we are up on the upper deck again. I have one light up here for the upper deck. And for now, I think I'm going to claim one of these seats up here at the highest point. So it's about 10 after 5 now. And the boat is scheduled to leave at 5:30. And I think it's scheduled to arrive at maybe 5:30 in Mandalay or something like that. So 10 hours, 11, 12 hours, something like that. I really don't know for sure. There's no way you'll see this in the GoPro, but up above me, the whole sky is filled with bats. Hundreds of bats flying overhead. And I'm sure they're heading towards a roosting spot for the day. Big bats. They've been out all night feeding, and then they're coming back home to roost. With my private seats up here at the very top of the boat, apparently I am the captain. I am the king of this boat. I am the king of the river today. Skies are still pretty dark, but I see a lot of cloud cover. Life doesn't get any better than this, I have to say. There's nothing better than sitting on a boat on a river waiting to go. Well, I'm not exactly sure what's going on because we're leaving the jetty. It's not 5:30 yet. And I appear to be the only person on the boat. I don't know how many, what the capacity of this boat is, but I would say in the hundreds, couple hundred anyway. And they're leaving with just me. So my being king of the boat, it's not exactly a lie. I am the king. And off we go. I guess we can leave early. I guess they know that there's only one passenger. They're not waiting until 5:30 even to leave. So early departure. If I'd known that, you know, I could have told these guys, hey, I could be here at 4 if you want. I can leave even earlier. So I get a private train car, like a train prison, all the way to Bagan for 20 hours. And now I seem to have this entire boat all to myself. But at least here I can walk around. I'm not a prisoner on the boat. Of course, it doesn't make any economic sense for them to make a trip with just one person on board, but I think they have to go to Mandalay, and there they'll pick up a lot more people for the return journey. I think a lot of people take the boat from Mandalay to Bagan, but not very many people make the return journey. And there is Bagan in the darkness just a couple of minutes after we left. Sky turning a little bit blue as the sun starts to come up. Oh, they just turned the light off. So now I'm in complete darkness here. That's fine with me. Wow. As I said, life does not get any better than this. There's the flag mounted on the rear light pole on this boat. And Bagan is there in the background. Maybe you can finally get to see a little bit of the boat as it starts to get a little bit lighter out here. And there's my seat on the boat, my private double seat on the back. That's one great thing about having the whole boat to myself. Whoa! Oh, okay.
Yeah. With a boss?
Breakfast. Thank you.
Yeah.
So is today only one person?
Yeah, only person.
Only one.
Yeah.
So I'm really the boss today.
Yeah. Where are you from?
From Canada.
Canada, yeah.
Yeah, Canada. So special day. Today is the first day, right? For the boat trip?
What boat trip?
For this season, today is day 1?
No.
No?
Just the 4 day.
4 day.
4 day is study. Today is today is 4 day.
4 days. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was pretty quick. A young man came up to me and brought me my box breakfast. So let's see what we have for breakfast today. There's the box. The company is called Pioneer, apparently. The MGRG Express is this boat. And they have a website, MGRGexpress.com. And for breakfast, we've got an assortment basically of cakes. And me being the clever fellow that I am, I made sure to have some food. I got some breakfast food yesterday and I kept it in my hotel room. So when I woke up this morning, I woke up pretty early, about 3 o'clock, because I like to be up early and have a lot of time to get ready. I hate rushing more than anything. So I got up at 3 and I had a cup of coffee in my room, and I already had a nice big breakfast in my room. And so this breakfast here will be more of a snack for me. And I spoke to the young man who brought me my little cakes, and I asked him if I was the only passenger on board, and he said yes. That's one thing about this boat. To be honest, I was looking forward to a boat full of other tourists, other travelers, and I thought if there were 2 or 3 other people on their own, I might be able to chat with a few people, have a conversation on this ride to Mandalay. But being the only person on this boat, there's no one here to talk to, but at least I can talk to you, so you can keep me company on this ride. I was talking with someone yesterday about this boat trip a little bit, and he said there was a chance of seeing the Irrawaddy dolphins, the fresh river dolphins, in this on this trip. I think we'd be quite lucky to see those. We'll see what happens. I'm finding there's one downside to sitting in my private chairs at the very back here, is that it's very close to the engine, so you do get all the engine noise, but you also get a fair amount of engine exhaust is coming up from the back and wafting around these seats, so I find I'm breathing in a lot of exhaust, so I might have to move after a little while. Anyway, here's the back of the boat. You'd think with the speed that this boat is going that all the exhaust would blow away, but there's some sort of a air current going around, I guess, and it's pulling the exhaust up and then over these seats over here. So those 2 young men there just came up to tell me that the coffee was ready. And I wasn't sure if that meant they're going to bring me coffee or I go down there to get coffee. We'll find out what happens. I think they're going to bring me a cup of coffee. We'll see. Another guy, the one who brought me my little cakes for breakfast, he told me that coffee would be ready in a few minutes, and he assured me that it was a very good coffee. I mean, my instinct is to go down there and have coffee down there out of the wind, but I can't resist the idea of having coffee up here in my captain's chair, you know. So I'll have 1 cup of coffee up here. There'll be plenty of time on this trip to go down there and have a cup of coffee down there. As I said, life doesn't get any better than this. And here comes a cup of coffee.
I put sugars and creamer.
Okay. Thank you.
Enjoy your coffee.
Very good. Thank you. There. Cup of coffee. Actually, that is very good. Again, I'm not a food expert, wine expert, whiskey expert, or coffee expert, but I like this. It's very good coffee. This definitely will not be my last cup of coffee on this trip. I feel like I could be doing some kind of a coffee commercial, you know, good to the last drop or something like that. Yeah, we're quite close to the shoreline again. It's interesting that we're not passing, you know, any villages, anything like that. I don't see any other boats on the river, no fishing boats, anything like that. I don't see any fishing nets. I spent some time yesterday looking at Google Maps, the satellite view, the whole route along this river, just to see what would be ahead of me. I did notice that on the trip up to Mandalay, we'll be passing a couple of fairly large towns. I would even call them, cities. but I don't know how much of them we'll see from the boat. And I also wonder whether we'll stop at any of those cities to pick up passengers or anything. It's kind of a shame to have this huge boat going up to Mandalay with only me on it, but we'll find out. Up ahead of me, I can see a big bridge going across the river. We're slowly settling into a routine on the boat. A young man has mopped the floor here 3 times already. He's on his 3rd time. So I guess swabbing the deck is a big part of daily life on this boat. We're not that far out of Bagan. Maybe, it's about 6 a.m. now, so we've been on the river for about an hour. We're just catching up to the very first other boat on the river. We've got a tugboat pushing a barge. And that reminds me a lot of Dhaka in Bangladesh. You saw so many huge barges there being pushed and pulled by giant tugboats. And up ahead of us, you can see a bridge going across the river. It's quite a long bridge. It's a very wide river. It's actually divided into 2 or 3 sections. There's like an island here in the middle, and then the river is also on the other side of that island. And there's a fairly substantial town up ahead on the left. I think it's called something like Pakokku, something like that. We are getting close to Pakokku and the Pakokku Bridge. There it is ahead of me. As I said, it's quite a long bridge going all the way across this river to the city of Pakokku. I was chatting with one of the crew members on this boat for a few minutes, and he was telling me that there's 10 crew on this boat full time. 10 people work on this boat, and they all sleep on the boat at night. So their job, of course, is to go from Bagan to Mandalay, and then Mandalay back to Bagan. You know, every second day they make the same trip, and at night they all sleep on the boat. So I assume that's part of their salary. You know, they get all their food in the from the ship's kitchen, and they get to sleep on the boat as well, so they don't have to pay rent anywhere. He said he was from Yangon. That's his home city. And he comes up here during the busy season when the boat starts running. He comes up here to work during that time. My taxi driver this morning, he told me that this was the first trip of the season for this boat. But according to the staff of this boat, that isn't true. This is actually their 4th day. And they've already started from Mandalay, made 1 trip to Bagan, a return trip to Mandalay, back to Bagan, and now this is the 4th trip. And he said that yesterday when they went from Mandalay to Bagan, they had 20 passengers. So they had 20 going this way, but only 1 returning. And he also told me that this boat has a maximum occupancy of 50 people. And that seemed kind of low to me. I thought it could carry more than that. But I'm not exactly sure, because I said to him, oh, I thought it could carry more people, like 100 at least. And then he said, yes, 100. But then he said yes to 50 as well. So I have no idea what the capacity really is. We're heading under the Pakokku Bridge. There it is there. I don't think we're going to see very many big landmarks on this trip. So this is probably one of the biggest that we'll come across. There it is behind me, the Pakokku Bridge. There's my first glimpse of some small boats on the river. I assume they're fishing. And there's my private seat for the boat. Now that the sun is kind of above the horizon, I don't even know where the sun is, to be honest. It's so overcast today, you can hardly see anything. But now that it's quite a bit lighter, I'm going to take a walk around the boat, give another quick tour. My initial tour was pretty much in the darkness, so let's go take a look around. This area you know quite well. My seat for the captain, the king of this boat, king of the river. And this is the seating area up here. So that's where you climb up to this area. There's only 2 seats up there. So the seats down here are the same as the ones up there. They're actually quite they're actually very comfortable seats, at least for the way I like to sit. Yeah, very nice tilt to them. The angle of them fits my body perfectly. So I could sit here for 10 hours, which is what I will end up having to do. The crew member I was speaking with, he said that we will be arriving at 4:30. That's a great time to arrive. Can't get any better than that. I've already booked a place to stay in Mandalay. I booked a room at the Boss Hotel, and I chose it mainly because it's reasonable cost. Of course, it's sort of a budget hotel, but it's less than a kilometer away from the Jetty in Mandalay. So I'll be able to get off this boat and just walk to the hotel. So this would be your view if you were sitting here down in this area. Right beside the railing, which is nice. And you can see the river there and the boat. I get very nervous holding the GoPro out over the river like this, but just have to hold on tight. I definitely don't want to lose this. And here they have some electrical outlets. Hello. Oh, and there's the coffee and tea station. Just taking a tour of the boat now that it's light out. There's the bridge. And there's the front of the boat. And we saw this area earlier, but it was pretty dark. So, yeah, how many seats do we have here? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 20 seats here, 20 here. So maybe, and then 10 up above. So I guess that makes sense. Yeah, seating for about 50 passengers. Somehow I thought there was a lot more here when I got here in the dark. Down at this level, you're a lot closer to the water. And you can see just how fast we're going. Yeah, so I didn't get the feeling of the speed when I was up above. But to go this fast against that current, that's pretty incredible. So they've got a pretty powerful motor driving this boat. engine, I guess. And I think this area up here, where that door is just closing, that would be the sleeping quarters for the crew. And they've got one table here where you can sit, and then a counter seating in there. Yeah, you can see somebody's charging his phone there. So that's kind of nice to have these outlets for tourists. They can charge their phones. I've been keeping my eyes open as I wandered around the boat, trying to find the toilets, the washrooms, but I haven't seen them anywhere. Haven't seen any signs either. I assume I'll stumble across them eventually, but I don't know where they are. I found them. There's the sign, toilet. Oh, it's actually fairly nice. Your basic toilet. Running water. Yeah, got some water. A toilet with a view of the river. Down here on this deck near the toilet, we've got the engine room. Let's take a look in here. Not the loudest ship engine I've ever seen. When I was in Bangladesh, taking the boats there, those motors, those engines were so loud, you'd swear they were like pounding your brain into mush. This one's pretty loud, but not as loud as those ones. Well, I think I'm gonna head over to the coffee area, have another cup of that great coffee. They're very proud of their coffee, so I better have at least a second one. It's so different from being on the train, mainly because I can get up and walk anywhere I want. You know, I can actually go into the dining part of the boat, which I couldn't do on the train. Plus, I can walk around without falling over. That train was so rough. Like I said, you couldn't stay on your feet. You had to hold on at all times. Anyway, let's go get another cup of coffee. Yes, please. Another cup of coffee. Ow. I have to be careful.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You're so tall.
I know.
Where you come from?
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber.
Hmm? Yeah, Justin Bieber.
Famous singer from Canada.
Yeah. Here we are, coffee number 2. Moved down to this area just for a change of scenery. And to be honest, just to get away from the exhaust. It's weird the way the exhaust from the engine swirls around those back seats. I can feel it kind of burning my throat a little bit. It's funny. I was chatting with the young guys when I was getting my coffee, and when they find out I'm from Canada, actually everyone in Myanmar, when they find out I'm from Canada, the first thing they mention is Justin Bieber. Makes me wonder about whether Justin Bieber is aware of stuff like that. Like any famous person is aware of how much they represent the country they're from. So however Justin Bieber behaves, any trouble he gets into, his lifestyle, all of that, people associate with Canada. It's the first thing they think of when they think of Canada is Justin Bieber. It's like, what a crazy world we live in. I don't know if you can see it in the GoPro wide-angle lens, but there's a water buffalo stampede going on over there. Like 5 or 6 of them just came charging along the riverbank. Something must have spooked them. They were down at the water's edge and then they just started running. They stopped now though. When I was in Bagan, I was worried that the high winds might even prevent this boat from running. And it's still pretty windy today, but the river is not that rough and the boat seems to be handling it easily. Yeah, I guess a boat like this is designed to run against a strong current like this. Very long and narrow. I still can't believe I'm sitting here on this boat in Myanmar all by myself, going upriver on the Irrawaddy River. That's amazing. And there's an interesting boat. It's got a large amount of water pouring over the side, so it's dredging something. Is it actually dredging from the bottom of the river? I wonder what it's doing. Maybe there's gold at the bottom of the Irrawaddy River. Just an update on my journey from Bagan to Mandalay. We are about 4 hours into the trip, I guess. It's after 9 o'clock in the morning now. As I said, we're arriving in Mandalay at 4:30, so that gives us another 7.5 hours on this lovely trip. Yeah, I've enjoyed it very much, just sitting here and watching the river and the coastline go by. I thought I would pop out the GoPro just now because we've got some boats moored beside us here. That one is called the Mitsubishi. I have no idea what it's doing, but it looks like it's carrying a load of something. And we've got 4 or 5 other boats moored here. I've seen quite a few boats, various sizes, different locations, and I generally have no idea what any of them are doing, to be honest. I saw some very small boats that looked like fishing boats, all docked on a similar kind of stretch of coast to this. And I assume they were fishing for something, but I couldn't tell you what they were fishing for. And these boats are all carrying various loads, but I couldn't tell you what they are carrying or where they're going or why they're docked here. As always, traveling around a country like Myanmar, I just have questions. I really don't know what's going on around me. This boat over here has some activity on the deck. Looks like it's kind of a ferry boat. It's got some vehicles getting loaded on there. The only disappointing thing on this journey so far is that maybe 40 minutes ago, one of the crew came up and unplugged the coffee pot and then moved it from the counter down onto the floor. And I was sort of just then thinking, it'd be nice to have another cup of coffee. So I don't know what's going on with the coffee. Does that mean it's all gone and they're not going to have any more? I don't really want to go ask them for coffee and then they have to make a whole new pot just for their, one foreign passenger. But at the same time, that coffee was so good, I kind of got used to the idea that there'd be a pot of it there waiting for me whenever I wanted a cup. So we'll have to just keep an eye on that counter, see if the coffee pot ever makes a reappearance. Just for fun, I thought I would take the camera down to a lower level here and show what the boat looks like down, sort of on the railing, but down on this lower level where the bathrooms are and the engine is. Whoa. The water's gotten a bit rougher, so I'm sort of have to hold on a little bit. Back here, you can get a closer look at the propeller and the as I said, it's getting a little bit rougher. Oh, I see what they're doing. I noticed that the tires were getting into the water and they were creating a big wave or a splashing of water up into the windows. It's probably going inside the boat. So they're pulling the tires up out of the water, so it's not splashing as much. Whew. Like that. It's good to get a little bit wet on a boat. Makes you realize where you are. Check out the other side. Soaking wet feet. This is my main breakfast cake. But I took a closer look at my breakfast box and there's more than just cake in there. There's also a boiled egg and a kind of half a banana or a small banana, something like that. So you get a cake, boiled egg, and a banana. Very tasty. We're really moving close to the shore here. An interesting thing about this river is that I think it's fairly shallow, so they have to follow a very precise path in order to have enough water depth. You can see over here there's a green buoy. And there's a whole series of buoys along the river, and this boat has been following the buoys, and it's quite often has to go like zigzag, zig to that side of the river, go for a while, then zig back to this side, and they're slowly zigging and zagging along, following the deepest channels of the river. So yeah, it looks like they're collecting gravel over there. The cake was very tasty. It's a funny thing about me and food. I never feel hungry, so I'll go long periods without eating anything. But then as soon as I eat something, right after I've eaten it, I'm like, oh, that was so good. I was so hungry. But before I eat it, I had no idea that I was hungry. So I think I'm even gonna have my boiled egg now. I just have to break it out of its shell. So I need both hands for that. Gotta put the camera away. This is one of the more substantial, like, riverside villages we've passed, at least that I've been able to see. And according to the staff or the crew of the boat, they're well known for pottery. You can see piles of clay pots there. And it kind of makes sense that there would be a lot of pottery along the river. Again, because I'm sure they get nice clay that they can use for pottery and for brick making. All the bricks that would have been used for the construction of the pagodas at Bagan. Well, I had my hard-boiled egg. That was good. Only thing left in my breakfast box is a banana. So that's bananas next. Another quick update. It's 11 a.m. So we've been on the river for 6 hours now. And a surprise came my way. They're serving lunch. And to be honest, I need another 3 hours or more to be hungry for lunch. But lunch is here now. And here it is. So we've got chicken and rice and various veggies. So it's nice and hot right now, so I'm gonna have lunch now. If it was a cold lunch, I'd probably put it away and eat it quite a bit later. But lunchtime. And there's my lunchtime view. Well, lunch is over. Man, that was a very good lunch. I wasn't expecting such a good meal, to be honest. And I can't imagine how they would serve a meal like that to 50 people if this boat was at capacity. Where would I got to sit at a table there, but that's pretty much the only table on the boat. So maybe most people would be, eating with their plate on their lap or something in all these chairs. Anyway, it'd be a bit of an effort to serve 50 people a nice meal like that. It was very good. Just as always, I started the meal saying I wasn't hungry, and then I just hoovered through it. So I was hungrier than I thought. Getting closer and closer. We're about an hour and a half outside of Mandalay now. And I was just talking with the crew of the boat here, and it turns out that we're not going to the jetty that I thought we were. According to all the research I did and looking online, I had a certain jetty in mind. I thought the boat went there, and I chose a hotel precisely because it was near that jetty. But that's not where we're going. We're going somewhere else. So I'll probably have to, I could still walk, but the guy that works on the boat, he has a friend who drives a tuk-tuk or a taxi, and he's going to arrange transportation for me from the jetty to the hotel. That seems like a wise thing to do, because even when he was showing me on Google Maps where we were going, he didn't seem quite clear where we were going. So I have no idea where we're going to end up. We'll find out when we get there. One of the first landmarks we're going to pass by is a railroad bridge and then a highway bridge. That's like a kilometer or two ahead, and after that we'll be heading into Mandalay proper. The landscape has changed a lot the nearer we've gotten to Mandalay. A lot more greenery, as you can see on the side, a lot more trees, a lot more lush here than down around Bagan. I didn't think the landscape would change as much as it has, but it changed quite a bit. Still not much in the way of hills though. I can see some hills on the far side of Mandalay, but around here still it's mainly just flat land. It's been a great trip overall. Really enjoyed this. In the afternoon they served me a plate of fried bananas, fried plantains, something like that, with kind of a sweet glaze sauce drizzled over the top. Very, very good. I don't know how they made that here in this little kitchen. And then they made another pot of coffee for me and the rest of the crew. So it was a really nice afternoon too. So here comes the news about my tuk-tuk. So?
My friend is no coming. Another tuk-tuk and motorbike and that he have.
Okay, cool. And we are approaching the bridges in Mandalay. I think this first one is the railroad bridge, but I'm not entirely sure. I see trucks and motorcycles on it. And someone told me that the railway bridge is about 100 years old. Yeah, this first one does look like a railway bridge to me for some reason. Heading back into the big city. coming up on the next bridge. And I was chatting with the staff member here. He seemed to be the senior man in charge of this boat. And he said that tomorrow they only have 8 people going back to Bagan. But as I asked him more questions, I kept getting different answers every single time. So sometimes it was 8 people going back, and then suddenly it was 2 boats going back, each boat with 50 people in it. I couldn't make any sense out of anything he was saying. But he seemed pretty clear that they have, this company has 3 boats that make the run from Mandalay to Bagan. And sometimes during the high season, all 3 boats are full. So that'd be like 150 people a day making the trip from Mandalay down to Bagan. I don't know much about the city of Mandalay, except that today it has a population of about 1.2 million. It's actually a very young city. It was founded in 1857 by the then king of this area, King Mindon, I think was his name. And I've noted that the kings of Myanmar have this habit of always wanting to establish their own capital city. And apparently Mandalay was founded according to a prophecy that a metropolis of Buddhism would be founded in the 2,400th year of Buddhism at the base of Mandalay Hill. And King Mindon decided to establish his new capital city at the base of Mandalay Hill. And I think Mandalay was still the capital when the British took over the country. But the British moved the center of all their operations south to Yangon. And today Yangon is much, much larger and is much more the center of commerce for the whole country. I think Yangon's population is like 4.5 million, so like 4 times as many as Mandalay. And the city of Mandalay suffered a lot of damage during the World Wars, particularly World War II. It was bombed heavily by the Japanese and also by the British. In one bombing raid alone, I think something like 3/5 of all the buildings in Mandalay were flattened, including the Royal Palace. So the entire Royal Palace was destroyed, and it was rebuilt in the 1990s. So as a tourist, if you go see the Royal Palace as this, part of the history of Myanmar, you're actually looking at buildings dating from just the 1990s, which is kind of funny. And that's about everything I know about Mandalay. Getting a bit busier in the river. We're pretty much in the center of Mandalay now. I think downtown Mandalay is off in this direction. We're passing sort of an interesting kind of an island here in the middle of the river, and they have a lot of homes along the river shore. It's a very interesting looking boat and interesting hotel. I think these boats up ahead on the left are also MGRG boats, so these belong to the same company as this one. I wonder if we're just going to pull up right beside them and have to climb through all the other boats to get to the dock. So I don't see any openings anywhere to actually reach any kind of a jetty. I think the boat I'm on is a little bit larger than this one. So, thank you very much for the good service on the trip.
Yes.
Whoa.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for traveling with us. We're very pleasure with you.
Thank you.
Maybe hope to see you again.
Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah.
Another trip to Myanmar.
Yeah, sure. Have a nice trip, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Good luck with English. Studying English. Yeah.
Bye bye.
Yeah, you have to mind the gap here and don't fall in. Between each boat, there's a gap with the river flowing by. Wow. Hello. Yeah, it's quite a journey getting off that boat, going through 3 more. Oh, this guy is carrying my bag all the way up. There's a Pioneer Oasis floating hotel, restaurant and bar. I'm going to the Hotel Boss.
Oh yeah. For the boss.
Do you know Boss?
For the boss.
Boss.
Yeah. Yeah, what about it? Yeah, let's go.
There we go.
Okay.
We've arrived at the Hotel Boss. A very fancy looking place. No, I'm not doing anything here. I just go to the airport and I leave, so. Well, hello, how are you?
How are you?
Pretty good.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you reservation?
I do, yes. So I've arrived in Mandalay at my hotel. For me, another very luxurious room. My time here in Myanmar has been nothing but nice hotel rooms. I've actually looked for low budget, single room kind of places and I just haven't been able to find them. Maybe they're out there. So I end up with these places with, air conditioning, TVs that I never turn on, and a kettle. Just kind of funny because I actually travel with my own kettle, but they provide water and some coffee and even a stocked mini bar. Oh, it's even cold. And this room comes with a view of the city. But here is the bathroom. Seems quite nice. All right, so that is the end of my day. Long day in a way. Started at 3 this morning, heading down to the jetty in the dark in my taxi, my private boat waiting for me there, which we left a half an hour early because I was the only passenger and I was there at 5 a.m. We were scheduled to leave at 5:30, but we left at about 5 a.m. and arrived at the docks right around 4 o'clock. So what's that? 11 hours door to door. Oh, 11 hours jetty to jetty, put it that way. So one more small adventure in Myanmar, and I'm going to unpack and settle into my room, maybe have another cup of coffee, and I'll see you in the next video.